Hey, welcome back and thanks for sticking around. I took about half a year off from this channel and I wasn't going to pick it back up, but then I saw that just 2 people left really nice comments saying that some of the other videos I made had helped them out and they wish I was still making videos. And that was enough. That's all it took for me to decide to pick this back up, because all I want to do is just share my experiences and share the knowledge that I have to help you out in the relationship that you're in. Because there's nothing more rewarding than a successful, meaningful, long-term relationship. It's one of the best things in life. Today, I want to talk to you about emotional baggage. Now, that's a phrase I think we've all heard of, but when it comes down to it, it's really difficult to describe exactly what that is. In fact, in 1964, there was a Supreme Court judge, Justice Potter, and he was talking about pornography. And he said that it's really difficult to describe exactly what that is, but he knows it when he sees it. And I think that's the same thing that happens to a lot of people that are dealing with partners or with themselves when they have emotional baggage. It's really tough to define what that is or put a finger on it, but we sure do know it when we see it. Now, I have a lot of emotional baggage. I do, from my previous relationship. I was married for 22 years to an emotionally abusive partner, and because of that, I brought forward a lot of emotional baggage. And it doesn't help my current relationship at all. But because my partner is thoughtful and she's brought this up to me when I've been acting poorly or when I'm in the throes of reliving some past experience, I've been able to identify exactly what emotional baggage is and how to deal with it, a pretty successful strategy. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. Now, let's talk about what it is. If you look in textbooks and do any online reading, you'll see people describe emotional baggage as a negative or detrimental attitude about something that contaminates a present relationship. What does that mean? I don't know. But what I do know, and what I've been able to translate that into, is a particular situation or event or condition that you or your partner has experienced in the past triggers a certain type of behavior in the present. And generally, that present behavior is negative. It's not helpful, it's detrimental, it could be an attack, it could be a complete withdrawal. For me, whenever my previous wife and I had an argument, I would adopt sort of a victim mentality. And then I would withdraw from the conversation because that was my way of fighting. To become distant and unreachable was sort of my defense mechanism. Now that carries forward into this relationship, into my current relationship, by whenever something becomes difficult to talk about or there's a little bit of tension, I immediately jump back into that victim mentality, withdraw, and the conversation ends. Because that's what I knew what to do when discussing something that was hard, when there was something that was difficult to talk about. I would put up a wall around me. Now my partner has noticed this and she points it out when it happens, and we've been able to identify certain triggers, certain word combinations, certain times of day, certain ways of bringing up a subject that will almost automatically cause me to fall back into my previous ways. In other words, something that brings forth that emotional baggage almost instantly. Now let's talk about the second part, how to handle and alleviate or treat emotional baggage from your partner. Now, because I was the one in my current relationship that had emotional baggage, and my current partner was kind enough to talk about it with me in a gentle way, I believe I've got a certain insight and knowledge that I want to share with you so you can talk to your partner and resolve any problems in a loving, calm, careful manner. Now, one of the biggest things that I don't think anyone realizes is that when that baggage carries forth and someone is acting in a way that's detrimental or hurtful or aggressive, they probably don't realize they're doing it. It's so automatic in nature that there's almost no intent. I don't mean to be a sandy little butthole, and I have no idea that I'm doing it when a situation comes up right now, and my tool for dealing with that is broken and causes the other person pain. I have no clue that's happening. So your partner probably doesn't realize that it's going on. So take that And if you can realize that your partner doesn't mean to attack you or doesn't mean to denigrate you or hurt you, and instead they're simply essentially broken in a certain way. They're broken how they internalize the current stimulus and how they respond to it. And if you can take that and gently, very gently point out to them what they're doing, that's the first step. The hardest part of all of this is going to be to not get emotionally involved, but simply mention to them point blank what they're doing. That's the first step. And it could be that your partner argues with you or denies it or doesn't see it. So start off by saying to them in a very loving, calm nature, hey, what I have to say is going to be difficult, but it comes from a good place. And I don't want this to seem like it's an attack or like I'm after you, but I have noticed, or this is my opinion, that when we talk about this, or when this certain thing happens, or when we encounter this situation, your reaction, from what I've seen, tends to be, and then be clear, be very, very clear, aggressive, short-sighted, without emotion, discouraging to me, and harmful to our relationship. And then say to them that I think this might be something from your past that's sort of clouding how we're interacting with each other. Perhaps there was a bad situation or there's some sort of negative emotion associated with this, and it seems like almost you're having a knee-jerk reaction that's irrational. Now, again, I don't mean this to be an attack, and I don't mean to put you down, but this is something we have to be aware of. And that's the very first step, making yourself and your partner aware of that emotional baggage. That's the very first step. And this isn't going to be easy. This isn't going to be a one-shot conversation and you're done. This is going to take practice, and it's going to take gentle practice and gentle nudging every single time it comes up. Whenever you feel the need to talk to them about it, talk to them about it. Don't hold back, but make sure it's in that positive, calm, loving, reassuring manner. And again, they're probably going to bite you back. No one wants to be told they have a problem, or no one wants to be told they're doing something wrong. Just maintain your inner calm and just be there. Work with them. Don't push them too much. And this is really hard because I know you want to fight back and I know you want to just get up in arms, but that's not going to help the situation. Now, the second step of this is critical, and it will sound incredibly straightforward and easy, but in practice, it's going to take some time to learn. And that is that whatever you have identified, whatever the reaction is that your partner has, or whatever their blow up may be, suggest an alternative way to act. In other words, tell them a way of behaving that is going to be helpful for both of you in that situation. So for me, just one of my many pieces of baggage was the inability to handle questions. All right, sounds innocuous, but here's what happened. If my partner were to ask me too many questions about something while I was in the middle of doing a task or cleaning something or fixing food or whatever, I, for some reason, saw that as an attack, that they were questioning my ability. To me, it meant that they thought I didn't know what I was talking about, when it might have been something I've done 1,000 times. So I would become angry and fight back with short, snippy answers like, of course this is the way you do it. What are you talking about? I'm cutting the apple core out. I always do it that way. And it never occurred to me that my partner simply didn't know how to do what it was that I was doing. In other words, she would see me do something that I would think is easy and everyone knows how to do, and she simply wouldn't have a clue what it is that I was working on. So she would ask questions to learn and to gather information. So do you see the incredible disconnect already? Do you see how messed up emotional baggage is? I'm doing something, my partner's curious about it, she asks me about it, I feel attacked. Where does that come from? Well, it comes from being in an abusive relationship where your previous partner actually was criticizing you in a very passive-aggressive way. And I didn't know that I had developed that type of response. So she suggested that in the future, when she asks me questions, to stop for a moment and tell myself she's only asking because she doesn't know and she wants to learn. And it took me a long time to be able to do that simple little mental trick. But once I worked on it, and it takes a lot of repetition, it helps quite a bit. So that's the second piece. We could talk about all sorts of different cases and scenarios. And if you have questions, please leave comments and I'd be happy to talk to you about it. But when your partner does something that's harmful, that's a clear piece of emotional baggage, the second piece of this is simply suggest a better alternative. Because if they knew a better alternative, more effective way of resolving this already, that's what they'd be doing. So this whole video is just basically a handle on emotional baggage. Again, a bad wordplay, but it's just the beginning. There's so much to understand with this and so many different avenues we can take in discussing this. It's a difficult problem. I've got it. I know a lot of people have it. It's a big deal. So if you have any questions, please, again, leave those in the comments, and I'll make a few more videos talking about this with some of the more general or the more common types of issues that come up. All right, again, thanks for coming back to the channel. If you have any questions about this or anything else, just let me know. I just want to share what I've been through so you don't have to make the same mistakes that I've been through.